I guess.
All
Oh,
right.
well, we gotta wait on Chris.
Chris is here. All right. So it's recording. Let's go. Hello, everyone.
Cool.
Our group is a Sandland Vineyards group. We have the first 3 questions, and we're going to start off by introducing all of ourselves, starting with Emily.
I'm Emily.
And Jeanette.
I'm Christian.
CL.
And I'm Dominic. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to pass it over to Emily, and she'll begin with the first slide.
Okay. So Sandland Vineyards was founded by Tegan Pasalacqua in Northern California. Tegan is a successful winemaker who specializes in making old vine wine, which is wine from vines that are at least 50 years old and up to 100 years old. Tegan has extensive experience in winemaking. He was the head winemaker at Turley Wine Cellars. He was responsible for making 34 different wines from 50 different vineyards spread across Central and Northern California. So Tegan wanted to make wines that were both affordable and enjoyable to drink. He wanted to make really good wines from places that were known for making premium wines, so such as Contra Costa and San Joaquin counties, which are both located in Central California. He experimented with different vineyards and grape varieties as a way to learn to make good wines. His ultimate strategy was to do things differently than what other winemakers were doing. So he used different grapes, the forgotten classics from old vines. He used different farming methods, so own-rooted, dry-farmed, and head-trained vines grown organically. And he also had almost no intervention in the winemaking process. Now you can go to the next slide. So Sandland's name was originally used on a wine made by Tegan's good friend, who graciously let Tegan use it. He wanted a name that was easy to pronounce and reflected where his wines came from, which is from the sandy soils east of Napa. In regards to the label, he created a more traditional label that could have worked in the past and would work equally well in the future. As far as the retail price for Tegan's wines, they have a price range from $24 to $28 per bottle. He wanted to make affordable wines that his friends could drink. Despite selling at this price, there is an active and growing secondary market for Sandland's wines, with selling prices ranging from $39 to $79. The active secondary market caused Tegan to rethink his price, but Tegan said that at a price range of $24 to $28 a bottle, the wines basically sell themselves. Okay, and now Anjanette will discuss the market for wine.
All right, so is premium wine an attractive market? So when discussing premium wines, there's 4 segments. So the first one is going to be the popular premium wine. It's a large production and has the basic blends, which puts it at $10 to $15 a bottle. And then there's premium, which is a good, solid quality wine, which is around $15 to $20. And then you have the super premium, which is a handmade wine from medium to large production wineries, which puts it at $20 to $30. And then the last one would be ultra premium, which is great quality, handmade, excellent taste, and it's produced by small to large wineries, which puts it at $30 to $50. And then, so as you can see, the first picture is going to be the popular premium, which is going to be the $10 to $15 bottles, and then the premium, which is the $15 to $20 bottles. And then we have the super premium, which is $20 to $30, and then the ultra premium, which is $30 to $50. And if you can see, the bottles do change a little bit with it going more expensive. All right, and then the demand for wine is constantly increasing, which makes it a very attractive market. New technologies enable wineries to sell wine directly to consumers, which facilitates market entry and providing higher margins. And so when it comes to premium wine, some customers that purchase expensive wine will usually lean towards a brand that they have the most knowledge about. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it on to Ciel.
No, pass it
No,
on.
Dominic.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead. Let's get started with it. All right. The Sandland Vineyards is to become more attractive in the future because of its back to future type of labeling, and it's the choice of using a half-size capsule covering the cork. It's different than other brands of wine have, so it kind of stands out in that aspect. It definitely differentiates itself as a premium brand that's different than Napa wine, just because it's able to stand out as more of a mysterious brand of, what is this brand, who makes it, all of that. A very important factor of it is also Sandland Vineyards distributes 25% of their product directly to retailers at 50% of discount in order to spark interest in those consumers that are considered to be influencers, those people that are going to influence their friends through social media to buy these things. And although that's not very a smart move for Sandland, it pretty much helps them market when they don't really need to put money into it. They just do that, and the influencers help them market it a little bit better. Sandland Vineyards has an appropriate price point at an average price of $26. By charging by pricing their premium products at a lower price point than their competition, they're able to be more attractive because consumers will be able to purchase premium made wines for not premium wine prices. I also just want to add, they're following a strategy of being more attractive than other premier brands because they stress how it's made and how it's made in a different area than the normal premium brands. They're beating the competitors that are charging the $39 to $79 in the premium market. That becomes the secondary premium market. They also sell directly to their consumers through distribution channels that basically doesn't cost them a lot of money to do because it's directly to the consumer. So that's also very important. Another important thing to note is that in 2016, 399 million cases of wine were sold in the retail with a retail value of $60 billion. So there's a big market share out there for them to be able to grab. Also, another important thing to note is that 70% of wine in the United States is consumed domestically, with 90% of that 70% being consumed directly in California. And then another good thing to point out is that the market consists of two types of wines, the value wine and the premium wine. The value wine is considered wine that's $10 or less, that is mass produced, and it's easy to make, and it's not very cultivated or scientifically driven. But then you have your premium wines, which can go upwards to thousands and thousands of dollars, but normally on end, they're anywhere between $10 and $50. And those are the wines that we believe Sandland Vineyard is trying to create. 80% of our profits come from individuals who consume wine more than 3 times a week. So it kind of follows that marketing principle of 20% of your customers give you 80% of your revenue. Our distributors count for more than 25% of our sales. And like I was saying, this is very important because they are the ones who are putting the bottles of wine in the influencers' hands. So they're able to sell our wine and get our name out there. Give me one sec. So basically, because of the packaging that Sandland Vineyards uses, they're able to differentiate themselves from a lot of the other wines that they have. And this is really important because in the market, it's easy for consumers just to see wine that's the same, even though it's different, just because the packaging looks the same. And I was also going to say the wine industry is part of the soft drink industry. It falls under the alcoholic beverages industry, and it controls up to 15% of the market share in the alcohol beverage industry. 40% of people in that alcohol beverage industry state that they like to drink wine over beer or hard liquor and other things like that. And the last thing I want to touch on is there's 6 customer types that buy wine, and they range from overwhelmed, which are the people who don't really care about wine, don't really look into it that much. They just kind of want to get a bottle of wine to have a fun night. And then your enthusiastic wine buyers that look for that high quality wine and want to make sure that they're getting what they're paying for. So on that note, I'm going to end it and pass off to Seal. Next slide. Perfect. And he's going to be going over business strategy.
Yes. Uh, Today I'm going to be discussing the business strategy of Sandland Vineyard. First things first, there's no doubt that Sandland has a competitive advantage with the business strategy they have acquired. They have been using a differentiation strategy to make their brand name stand out among their competitors. To begin with, they use a non-traditional approach in their vineyard selection to work with. They also work with a small old vineyards throughout the state that most larger companies do not want to deal with because of the quantity or the funds and knowledge they don't have. Old vines have a lower yield that makes wineries, gives them a lower yield that many wineries don't want to use because of the higher cost and the slow growth rate of grapes. This caused the old wines to be unpopular among growers and was soon replaced by more favorable, easier wine, which are the ones that are less costly and easier to grow. Pasalacqua, if that's how you pronounce his name, was sorry about that, was going back to his roots and method that many wineries don't follow, which is using old wines. Pasalacqua uses different grapes, which are the old wines, different farming methods like on-rooted and dry farmed, which made his brand image shine. Uh, but one of their biggest key is the relationship Pasalacqua has with his growers. This gave him the upper advantage to pick and receive the best grapes, which makes him an exclusive buyer and a well respected among other growers. This gave him a better quality and better results for his grapes. One other thing is the price of the bottles. For Sandland wines to be considered premium, Sandland has to target a retail price of $24 to $28 per bottle. This is relatively low for wine that's considered premium that has a distinguishable taste. Many critics will even say that they should double their prices, at least double that, and they even rated his wine at a 94 points out of 100. Pasalacqua mentioned that his wines tell a story for itself and doesn't have to come up with one, since his style of wines are unique and hard to manage. This makes his differentiation strategy stand out and, and gives Sandland a competitive advantage among all wineries. Now I will be moving it to Chris to talk about the conclusion.
All right, guys. Well, in conclusion, I'm going to be talking about the 3 factors that are critical to being competitive using a differentiated business strategy. The first factor that allows Sandland Vineyards to have a competitive advantage is the intellectual property of the owner, Tegan Pasalacqua. Tegan has been in the winemaking industry since 2003 when he landed his first job at Turley Wine Cellars. Over the years, he has gained knowledge on cultivating wine, which gives him an advantage. The second factor that allows Sandland Vineyards they have their brand image. The brand name tells us where the wine is from, the sandy soils east of Napa. And like Emily and Seal covered, their bottle is affordable, which it ranges from $24 to $28 per bottle. They use different grapes, farming methods, and relationships with growers. The third and last factor, which allows Sandland Vineyards to have a competitive advantage, is its use of exclusive distribution channels. Only 25% of the Sandland Vineyards products are sent to distributors. This allows for Sandland to control a majority of their sales through their own distribution channel. I'm going to pass it back to Dominic to cover the Q&A session now.
Perfect. So the first question that I have for our group is basically what we think Sandland Vineyard should be doing because of their decision they were presenting us in the beginning of the case. So do we think they should be buying the winery or if they should try to look for another vineyard? In my personal opinion, I believe they should go for the winery just because it's a good way to increase their brand image and get their product out there. And then also a lot of the vineyards don't really want to sell any of their property. So it'd be a lot more difficult and a lot more expensive for them to acquire that. I'm going to pass it over to Emily and she'll answer the question next.
And I also agree. I feel like they should invest in the winery so, to have a tasting room for people so they can try their products, and it will promote their brand and help them gain more loyal customers.
Perfect. And then
I do agree with both Emily and Dominic. They should go through with this. It is a good idea. And the price point of the wine per bottle is within the super premium segment. So it's like $20-$30, which isn't bad. And that's, yeah.
Let's see what y'all think.
So yes. So for me, I would say that it's if it comes to money wise, they shouldn't try to buy other vineyards. They should just try to invest in their company. The biggest factor that they have is their brand image, and they do have a unique taste to their wine, which I think they should continue to invest. I think in the future, once they do have that resource or revenue to buy another vineyard, they should. But in the meantime, I think they should just continue investing in itself and the brand image.
Perfect.
To add on to what you guys said, I also agree. I feel like they should just promote their own product, because that is what they sell. That's probably the best way they can promote it, by getting customers in their winery instead of making more vineyards. They're just going to self-promote their product, and they're going to gain more customer loyalty that way.
Perfect. So now that we've heard from all the group members, I'm going to ask a second question. So we're all aware that there's the secondary market of premium wines from $39 to $79. So the question is, do you think that Sandland Vineyards should try to up their price point or try to hop into that market? So in my personal opinion, I believe that if they're going to try to position themselves as a premium wine, they kind of need to have that price point, because people that buy wine, premium wine, look at price point as something that tells them to buy it or not. So I'm going to send it over to Emily and see what she thinks about it.
Okay, well, I think that they should keep their prices the same. I mean, they're really doing a great job selling their wines. And like Tegan said before, at a price of $24 to $28, the wines basically sell themselves. So I don't think there's any need for them to increase their prices, especially if they want to reach a market that, like myself, I'm not a wine drinker, so I would never pay $79 for a bottle of wine. I'm fine with paying $24. So I think they're doing a great job already with their price.
Perfect.
And so I do agree with Emily that, if something's broken, don't really fix it. And if they're doing good with selling bottles within the $20 range, then why go from that? And, with them trying to increase the price and going into a different segment is going to be hard for them to sell it, because people know them so well within being $24, within being that range. So for them to market that $70, it's worth it, it's going to be hard. They have to be willing to pay that $70 up front in order to see if it is worth it. They can't really just be like, well, what is the difference between the $70 one and the $20 one? So I don't think that they should jump to $70, maybe slowly grow it. But for right now, I feel like the $20 range is perfect for them. And then
I think it was well said when you said if it isn't broken, you shouldn't fix it. I think you're right on that. They're selling at $24 to $28 per bottle, and if they do jump, say 60 or 70, for somebody who isn't a wine drinker, somebody who is but wants to try out new wines, for something to be $70, they're gonna expect high results, or they're gonna be a little bit iffy about it, because they're like, oh, it's a big risk to take just for something new that I wanted to try. So I'd rather stick with something that's low cost, and I can probably buy 2 or 3 at the same price of 70, rather than just buying one wine bottle. And I think even Pascual even said that if he does move to that amount, he doesn't have the time or the resource to continue working as hard, because now not only do you have to work harder, but now marketing wise, at 24 and 28, it sells itself. At 60, you kind of have to market, special people. You kind of have to put more ads out there to say like, hey, this is a high brand wine, but it's good results and you should try it. But then again, if it's only your small business, you shouldn't really try to go for something that big.
Cool.
Well, to conclude our presentation, I agree with all four of you guys. I feel like they should keep their price point. If they do want to up their price point, they should probably open up a new line, being a higher line, a more value to it. But as of right now, I feel like they should just keep their price as where it is, so it can motivate people to buy more wine that they've never really tried expensive wine, and it's very affordable for other people to try.
So that is going to conclude our presentation.